What has your lifestyle been like? How has quarantine and self-isolation affected you?
Well, it's been interesting. I feel like I've really been trying to find my new center in quarantine. I think everybody's kind of trying to find their new center. I think there's a lot to process. I think for me personally, it's been good and bad. It's been good for a lot of reasons because, I spent maybe 90% of my year last year on the road. So I was never home. And having this time at home, with, my boyfriend Sebastian, who I'm in quarantine with, and my family, who I was in quarantine with, was just so nice. I really needed that. But also, it hasn't been so nice sometimes just because I'm one who can, like, my mind kind of gets the best of me. It's like very triggering times, I feel, for anxiety and things like that. And I'm one to kind of take on the emotions of the world all at once. And so I've had to kind of work on that, with myself. But it's been, honestly, more than anything, it's been good to kind of reconnect with oneself. I think that's kind of my biggest priority right now.
I think a lot of people can relate to that in terms of even just taking everything onto our shoulders. I was talking to somebody and they said that we're all alone together. And that was actually really comforting to hear, which was interesting. But yeah, unfortunately, a lot of us can relate. So thanks for sharing that. Did you have a lot planned for this year?
I did. I had so much planned. And it's crazy because I feel like my industry, like I said, I spent 90% of the year last year on the road, and we were kind of planning for the same thing. We had a tour that we were planning, a couple, film and TV projects that we were in the work with, and all of that has just kind of come to like a complete standstill. Hopefully we will resume when it is safe for everyone. I feel like there's a huge responsibility for anybody who has any influence to kind of, demonstrate what is healthy practices of social distancing and things like that. So yeah, I feel like a big no-no for me is like just like being like, yeah, let's just go have concerts and everybody get together. All of that stuff, we consciously as a team, I think all of us are on the same page. Like right now is kind of the time to kind of prioritize being a human being more than it is to prioritize being, a singer and an actress. It's like, let me be a good person first,
I love that. Oh my goodness. So now, speaking of traveling and being on the road, I've gone on a couple tours, and those really, they kick your butt. It's something else. I know that you've talked about how life on the road takes a toll on your mind and your body. Would you mind just elaborating on that and sharing, I guess, if you're going to be doing anything different the next time around or what you learned from it?
Yeah, well, I mean, this break for me couldn't have come at a better time because I really needed to actually think about that. I think I am such a person who can get so caught up in like attending to a schedule that now it's like, oh, I get to make my own schedule. I can wake up and make breakfast and then pick up a new hobby. Like it's actually been really liberating this time if I look at, because I'm a glass half full, not half empty kind of girl, Yeah. I've totally been trying to like, hold on to that. But I think, learning from my past, something that I will forever now practice is just that reconnecting with oneself. Always reconnect with yourself. Because if you don't, I feel like what started to happen in my personal experience was the inside of me started screaming out in other ways. And that was with panic attacks. That was, big waves of what I didn't know at the time was depression. And that was really affecting my ability to enjoy what I do. And I thought, well, the more I work, the more distracted I'll be. But it was actually my body saying, hey, I need you to listen. If you're not going to listen, then I'm going to, whoop, here it comes, boom, panic attack. And it started to get literally uncontrollable. I started to get these episodes of what was like a speech anxiety attack where my brain would, my whole entire nervous system would just start to spaz out and my mouth would just stop. And if you know me, and you're close to me, I love talking. I take a lot of pride in self-expression and being very overly communicative. And for me, it was like, I can't talk, like words weren't even coming out anymore. And that was such a foreign form of anxiety for me that I realized I can't do this on my own. I have to be more vocal when I need help, and asking for help is not a bad thing. I think actually there's a lot of power in that. And so I asked for support from my loved ones. My family was extremely supportive. I actually started to go to therapy, and that was a big game changer for me. I absolutely loved it, and I want to continue. And so, yeah, learning from that, just like saying like, hey, it's okay to say, I need help. Hey, I'm not okay. Like there's actually so much power in that, you know? And so I think that's what I learned from the last couple of years, that I'm going to continue for, you know, what will be the rest of my career and the rest of my life.
Wow. Yeah, I felt that in my chest. I know from going to therapy for a very long time now, it's been amazing. It's been personally, it's been life-saving for sure. Now out of curiosity, and I know we're gonna wrap up in a few, but for those watching, when you started to let people in and you started to let your inner circle know kind of what's going on, because I remember feeling this weird daunting feeling of like, I don't know why, but I feel weird telling people what's going on with me. But when I did, it was like this load was lifted. So I'm curious what your experience with that was.
Yeah, well, I think, and maybe you would totally relate to this, so many people are watching you. And you almost feel guilty for saying, I feel alone or I don't feel okay, because we're so blessed to have all of the amazing things that we have in our lives and amazing opportunities and people, you know, surrounding us. But it was hard to like wrap my own head around the fact that like, wow, I was just in front of thousands of people and I still feel so alone. I still feel like something is missing. And I almost didn't want to accept it. There was a little bit of the sense of denial. Like I wouldn't let myself go too deep into that, because no, that makes me a bad person if I take those things for granted. And actually, it had nothing to do with if I was taking those things for granted. It was, like I said, it was something that I didn't even really understand what was going on, which was my anxiety, which was my depression. And so it was an interesting thing, like really accepting that it's just happening to me. It's not part of me. You know, I am not anxiety. I am not depression. It's just happening to me. And it's just going to come and it's going to go and it's going to come in waves. And you kind of start to, the way my therapist said, it's like, talk about them as if they were other people. Don't identify them as they're you. Talk about them like they're other people. And sometimes they're annoying and you're like, go away, or in my space. I need to set this boundary, you know? And so it was so empowering, like going to therapy and like learning all of those things to kind of help me like cope better. I was like starting to feel actually like myself. And I started to kind of like find the little pieces of B again, you know, and I was able to enjoy my life so much more. And it was really taking the time too of like what works for me. Like so many people had so many ideas, like, oh, you should do Pilates. Oh, you should do yoga. You should try meditation. You should try. All I'm going to say is you do you, boo boo. Like, like the amount of doctor's appointments that I went to, the amount of people that I sat down with, you know, therapy was an option for me. And I really sat there and I said, what is best for me? You know, and not falling under the pressures of what everybody else, you know, kind of does, because that's what works for them. So what works for me? And that was really great. It was a really, really great feeling.
That is absolutely wonderful. I relate to pretty much everything you've just said, but for those who are watching, I know that they're going to find a lot of comfort that you have just taken what they're feeling and you put it into words. So thank you so much for doing that. Thank you for talking with me. Thank you for sharing your story. I hope you stay super safe. And to everybody watching, have a good day.
Thank you so much.